Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. We are in for a treat today. But before we jump into what we're going to be doing today, please take a minute to follow this podcast. It really does drop every Tuesday and Wednesday, but I want you to know that it's coming. And I want this to be for you because that is the whole purpose of Productive Joy, is to give you just a little sunshine from the brilliant people that I'm surrounded by. Speaking of, I am surrounded by a brilliant person today, Miss Traci Schubert Barrett. And Traci was one of the founders of HGTV, which is a big deal. But more importantly, she is now the founder and president of Navigate the Journey. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's an entrepreneur at heart. And she's got a really great story to share with us today. So Traci, welcome to Productive Joy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So I like to say that people take about 30 seconds to decide that they are going to continue listening or move on. So you have about 30 seconds to convince people that you are pretty interesting. So what would you tell us in those 30 seconds to make us want to keep listening?
Yeah, I'd say if you are living life and you really want to figure out, how do I lean in? How do I live with intention? How do I be present? And how do I figure out what the second half of my life looks like, should look like, versus everything I've done to get to the point where I am today? I'd say this is the podcast episode for you.
My gosh, I'm so excited because I have like 10 people I could send this to. I'm in my late 40s and I am in the stage in life where I'm like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And it sounds like you help people figure that out.
I do. It's the thing that I enjoy doing so much. It's what I wrote about in my book and my own personal journey. And I think that's why I love it so much, because I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like. And I know that it happens to most all of us, that we get to this mid-career, midlife crossroads, like 40 plus ish, where we start to look around and we're like, I checked off all the boxes. I went through all the motions. I did all the things that either my parents told me I should do or society told me I should do. And it's all good. It's just now I'm wondering what's next. What are the crossroads, or what are the boxes I'm supposed to check off ahead of me? And for most of us, we're like, I don't know what those are.
Yeah.
We did the school thing, we did the work thing, some of us get married, some of us have children. And then we look to the future and think, well, is that all? Or can I reinvent myself? Or should I keep doing what I'm doing? What should I do? What should I do now that it's my decision? And do I have to keep following the quote unquote rules? Or can I do something else? And I just love meeting people at that juncture
Yeah.
and saying, let's figure it out, because the answers are inside you. We just need to pull them out. And that's my superpower and the thing that I'm passionate about and I love doing the most.
That is so exciting, Traci. Okay, so your book is called What If There's More? And just the title alone makes me want to pick it up and read it because it's so thoughtful about, you know what? It's not that things are bad today.
Mm-hmm.
Could they be better? Could they be more? I love that. It's very, very exciting. So in the book, tell us what would I get if I picked it up and I opened to chapter 1? What sort of nuggets of wisdom would pop out at me?
Well, the book comes from, as I said before, my own journey, my own story. So from page 1, you're going to get my story. And I knew I needed to be a little raw and vulnerable to even have people relate to, and know that I could relate to them. And those are the types of books that I like, where it's just kind of resting in sort of this authentic honesty of the person's journey, but also to share what I learned through that journey, right? So I feel like when we go through difficult times in our lives, those difficult times can distract us or diminish us, and for some of us even destroy us, or they can develop us. And I feel like the crossroads I've experienced in my life, I've tried to use to develop me and to who I want to become. And so that my book is a lot of, how do you develop yourself into who you want to become? And it starts with, my journey at HGTV. I was, on this small team of just eager entrepreneurs that wanted to start a television network. And it was like starting any other company. You know, you have a small group of people, everybody's working hard, it's all hands on deck. You're thinking about mission, you're thinking about vision, you're trying to form core values to hold your team together. And, you know, it worked. It really did. It was a fabulous ride. I was there for almost 20 years. I feel like I grew up there and loved my bosses, loved the company, loved everything about it. I loved my staff, I loved my colleagues, and it was a great experience. But I did wake up in my 40s thinking, okay, I've achieved this. I kind of have gotten what women are told all the time, right? You can have it all, you can have it all. I was married, I had 2 little kids, I had this amazing job, I was hobnobbing with HGTV talent and flying all over the world. But then I was thinking, you know, what do I really want? You know, who am I outside of HGTV? Everybody just knows me as HGTV. They introduce me as that. Like, who am I beyond that? And could I
Hmm.
do something different? And I was also longing to be with my kids more, you know, instead of on a plane or on a stage or whatever. And so I just decided to walk away.
Wow.
And the book tells the story of what that was like and how my bosses reacted and how everybody in my life, my friends, my family reacted to walking away from what was a dream job, not just for me, but for a lot of other people. And why would you do that? And what did it feel like? And then what was the process of sort of figuring out what's next? And as you said, what was the process of saying, okay, well, I'm grown up now. Who do I want to be? What do I
Yeah.
want to do?
Yeah.
And so I write about that process and what it felt like and the questions I had to answer and the process I used to answer them. And so, yeah, that's what the whole book is about. And it was so therapeutic to write it.
I would think so.
Yeah, right, exactly. And hopefully, and from what I hear from readers, it's really meeting people where they are. And I think that's been one of the most beautiful things about it is realizing there are so many people going through exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Well, we grew up in an era where we were taught you do this job for 30 years and then you retire and maybe you get to vacation a little bit, but that's it. And I think we're all waking up to the fact that no, it's not. And it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be. And I don't want to do exactly the same thing for 30 years. So I'm curious about order of operations here. So you walked away from a lucrative and wonderful and satisfying, sounds like, job because you wanted more. Then you started writing the book, or had you already kind of put some ideas to paper before that happened?
Yeah, it's funny. I started collecting articles and thoughts and writing in journals when I was still at HGTV. So I had the idea for the book. And of course, it went through a million different iterations
Sure.
because I was at the time thinking, oh, this is all about like what a midlife crisis must feel like, or this is all about like what it must feel like when women come under so much pressure that they just can't carry the weight of the world on their shoulders anymore. And so that's how the book started was around those ideas. And then once I left HGTV and then organically I had got my master's in psychology and my husband was doing strategic planning, and so people were reaching out to me to do executive coaching, like, not long after I left HG. And so we decided to form a company.
Yeah.
And so we formed a company. This is at the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. So it's been 10 years that we've been doing this company, almost 10 years, which is crazy to think about. And we just decided, let's do this business consulting firm. Let's help entrepreneurs scale their business. Let's help people figure out what they want to do with their lives. And so then after coaching people for a number of years is when I was like, gosh, this book is sort of now it's sort of evolving into something else where it's, you know, kind of a summation of my entire journey from like leaving HGTV to today.
Yeah.
And then of course answering these big questions for ourselves. So the book itself was a journey and writing it. I probably could have written 10 books in this one book. There's a lot baked in there. And I already, you know, can see how people will want to go deeper with it. Like, as soon as I started getting feedback about the book, they're like, "Well, what about that? And can we do this?" And so now I have, like, courses you can take to go deeper and coaching programs and all of that. So that's been a beautiful sort of thing that's come out of it as well, is how can I help people not just do the DIY version of my book, but to go really deep and
Yeah.
and really figure out, the next chapters of their life.
That has to be so satisfying because it's not like you just woke up on a Tuesday and learned all the things. You learned all the things over those 20 years.
Mhm.
And you kind of had this filing system of ideas that you had kept track of. And then you were somehow able to take all of that information and turn it into something other people could use. That's your superpower. I mean, you said that your superpower was really helping others find their journey, but it's because you've done the work and you learned as you went. What's maybe the biggest lesson that you learned in that process that you think everybody needs to know?
Wow, that's a great question. I think one of the things that I think I have learned is that who you are is not what you do. What you do is just a job, or what you do is just a role. And that goes to even people that aren't working outside the home. Like, being a mom is not who I am. It's a very, very important part of me, but it's not my identity in its entirety. And being a corporate television executive is not who I was. It was just a part of my being. It was in a very important role that I took very seriously, but it was just what I did. And I use my gifts and talents, which is who I am, to do these things, to be a good mom, to be a good wife, to be a good executive or entrepreneur or whatever it is that I'm going to do, because those roles change. And I think that's so important for people to really internalize, is that, my kids are getting ready to go off to college. And if I put all of my identity in being a mom, I'd be crumbling right now.
Mhm.
I would
Mhm.
be a wreck. And if I would have never been able to walk away from HGTV if I had put my entire identity into that job, because it would feel too scary and too vulnerable. And who am I outside? It was still scary and vulnerable, but it would be impossible if I had put all of my identity in that. And that's why so many people don't make changes,
Right.
is because the fear of exposing themselves, or the fear of of not having the title, or not having the paycheck, or not having, it's super scary, and I get it. But the freedom really lies in letting go of that and putting your identity into who you really are, who you were uniquely designed to be. And then you can apply that to any role in life. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the power is.
Most definitely. Well, and something that I do with my team that kind of goes on the same vein is we do something called elevate your eyes, expand your mind. And the idea behind it is, what's something beyond work that you want to get better at? What's
Mm,
something that you want to grow within you? Because I agree with you fully. If your entire identity is tied up in your job, you're gonna be disappointed. The business is going to let you down, and the things that you thought would never change are gonna change, and all of a sudden you're left with a lack of identity. And so that elevate your eyes, expand your mind concept is, let's look up let's think about all the talents that you have and what those talents actually bring to the table. And I'm honored to get to spend some time with you as you figure that out for other people and because you figured it out for yourself. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because the name of this podcast is Productive Joy. And I would like to know how you would define productive joy.
oh my goodness. I really think it's resting in your purpose,
Ooh.
and really resting in your gifts and talents and what you're passionate about and your values, and operating out of that every day. Because if you truly figure that out and you truly do it, what's going to make you, that's clearly going to bring you joy, right? But what's going to make it productive is you're going to know what to say no to and what to say yes to.
Mm.
So when you are using your purpose as a filter, and you have your eyes open, as you say, to the possibilities that are out there, a lot of possibilities are going to come your way. That doesn't mean you should do them all,
Mm.
right? And we also live in a society now where there's a lot of pressure to build platforms and to be popular and to have some level of fame. And as my teenagers always say, what's your following, and how many likes do you have, and all these things. And when I was growing up, none of that mattered.
Nope.
You could have 5 friends and go home and nobody talked. It just didn't matter. I had to I was one of 4 kids. I had to stand in line to use the phone in the kitchen. So, it was just a different way of doing life. And today we're so inundated. So it's like these full calendars, this fear of saying no to things because you're scared you're going to miss out on something or not be seen or not be known in some way that you think is important to be known. But when you operate out of your purpose and you figure out what's most important to you and you identify and name your priorities, that's when true productivity really happens because then you say, you know what? I could do this thing or I could go to this and I might, become more popular or I might be more seen or known. But is that really what I want? And does that really line up with my purpose? And is that really going to make me feel good in the end
Yeah.
in relation to what I really want for my life? And so I think when you do this work and you really align with that purpose, and doing purpose work is hard because it's elusive. When
Yeah.
I work with people, they usually come to me and say, it all sounds great to follow your passion or to live your purpose but what in the world does that mean and how do I do it?
Yeah.
And that's why, I have the processes to help people get there, but I totally get it. It is elusive and it does sound all flowery and nice and crazy. But once you do the work, that you become like laser focused and more courageous to
Mm.
say no to the things. And and then you're truly productive and then you're truly joyful because you're not living for somebody else or to impress somebody else or to find value that somebody else is giving you, but you are resting in who you are and you feel confident and clear on that. And then the joy is lasting.
Yeah. Ugh. Well done. Mic drop. Really. I'm not going to drop said mic. However, that is what that was because you figured it out. And what I appreciate most about you, Tracy, is that you didn't just keep that information to yourself. You didn't say, okay, I figured this out and I'm going to go do it now. Yay, me. But you said, no, I'm going to bring other people along on this journey with me. And I have a feeling many of the listeners are leaning in right now and going, okay, are there steps? Like, if you said that there is a way that you get people to be more laser focused. I say it this way. My company is called AIM, and that stands for Analyze, Improve, Move. But you can't
Mm.
aim until you set a target, right? So that's really what you're saying is your purpose is your target, and you know that that's what you're aiming towards. But what is the target? Have you defined it? And it's hard. That's very, very hard. So you mentioned steps. You don't have to give us all the information because I want people to buy your book. But if you had to say, what's step one in getting your purpose to actually drive your actions?
Mm. Well, I think it's really starting with where you are today. Like where are you today? What are the things that are the priorities? What are the things that are driving you? And the subtitle of my book is Finding Significance Beyond Success.
Mm.
And the reason why I have that subtitle is because I think so often we're just driven towards success, and the common metrics of success are money or title or fame or recognition. And those are all great things. I'm not knocking them. And I think, I want people to be financially satisfied and to have a level of recognition and to feel valued and really honored in the work that they do. But if we're only driven by those things, that's where it goes awry. That's where work starts owning us instead of us owning it. And so redefining success for yourself and really figuring out, okay, what does a full and satisfying life mean to me? What does a significant life mean to me? And so starting by really asking yourself these types of questions and redefining what success is going to mean to you in these coming chapters, it may have meant something totally different in your 20s, and that's fine and great. But what does it mean for your future, for today and for your future? And once we start to reorganize our mindset and go through, thinking about, okay, how can I have the proper mindset to propel me forward? Then we can start doing the work. And there's so many exercises in the book about how to, find your unique talents or how to understand what your purpose is or your core values or writing a vision statement or all of those things are in the book. And those are all great exercises. But I think first you have to have the right mindset. You
Yeah.
have to be ready for the ride. This isn't like a quick fix. This isn't a self-help, whatever, one off. This is like if you really want lasting change in your life and you really want lasting impact and legacy, you have to switch your mindset. You
Yeah.
have to hit reset and really like almost brainwash yourself into the future that you want to have. And then you can dig into all the exercises to get there.
I love it. Well, and I know that on LinkedIn you have a blog or newsletter or whatever you want to call it called Significantly Successful.
Mhm.
And I think there's power in those words, right? And you just
Mhm.
explained to us that it is about intentionality. It's also about definition and
Mhm.
focus and that laser focus that you mentioned. So people need to be following you in lots of different ways. So how would somebody find you specifically?
Well, they can find me at tracischubertbarrett.com, which is my website. You can find me on LinkedIn, as you said, at Traci Schubert Barrett. And Instagram, I like to put out little nuggets of truth on Instagram as well, and that's Traci S. Barrett. And I have a weekly newsletter. So if you go to my website, you can sign up. And I just love kind of just sharing thoughts every week and things that I'm loving. It's called 123 More. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I exist to really teach and help people find their more. I feel like a lot of people that are committed to a growth mindset, they know that there's more out there for them. It's just, what is that more? What is the thing that they should be doing? And so, whether it's through my book or through my newsletter or through LinkedIn posts or social media posts, I really hope I can just help people get a little bit closer to that and to get the clarity because it does really unlock a joyful life, like you said, a productively joyful life. And I know you and I both want that for so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And you've figured it out. And no, there's not a magic formula, but there are some steps that are repeatable
Mm.
and to make this a systematic approach to finding your purpose and living in it and moving forward, which is just so exciting.
Mm.
So, hi, gosh, I don't even know where to start with all of the nuggets of wisdom you've dropped. I first of all, Brand Builders has been good to you. So you and I know each other because of a mutual friend, and all of us belonged to Brand Builders. But they did a really good job, or you did a really good job before them of getting your message to be clear and fun, like significantly successful, 1, 2, 3 more. Like those are just really good little phrases. Good job. Kudos to you. And then, of course, what if there's more? Finding significance beyond success. Love it. The thing that I think were most powerful in what you just said, Tracy, is really about the willingness to be vulnerable and raw and recognize that you don't have to have all the answers. It is
Mm.
okay to not know. It's not okay to live in the unknown. So you have to be driving yourself forward to figure it out and surrounding yourself with people who help you figure it out, which I think is so, so good. So I have a couple rapid fire questions to wrap us
Okay.
up it'll be kind of fun. Are you ready? Are you excited?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm excited too. All right, first question. What is your definition of fun?
Oh my goodness. It's being with my family, hands down. I have 2 daughters, teenage daughters, and an amazing husband, and we are tight. And we love to travel, we love to eat, we love to play games, we love to watch documentaries and movies together. Like, we just have the best time, and yeah, fun is when we're all together, for
Uh,
sure.
I love that. And I know that they are getting ready to go off to college before
I
too long,
know.
17 and 18, right?
Yes, yes,
Ooh, okay.
I
So you're
know.
going to have to redefine fun a little bit.
Well, it's now my husband and I, we actually mapped out all the places we wanna travel to and go together. So yeah, it's really diving into the marriage even more and knowing that it's just a different version of our family.
It
It's
is.
not going away or, it's just a different version.
Yeah.
So I'm
I'm a
excited to see what that is.
I'm a couple years ahead of you. My kids are
Okay.
23. I have twins.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
My husband and I have twins, and yeah, we're redefining things. And what's interesting is we had an empty nest, and then the nest was full again, and
Well,
I know it's
I've
like
heard
half
that.
empty. And so, yeah, you just don't know where it's all going to land, but you can have a lot of fun along the way. Okay, great
Good.
answer. Next question. How do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's a feeling,
Mm,
I feel like when you're not, and I always say it's if something feels off, either with somebody you're talking to or you just feel off yourself, it's probably because you're not aligning with your core values. There's a
mm,
rub there. And so really trying to figure out where am I off or where is this person off that maybe I shouldn't be connecting with because they're rubbing up against my core values. But yeah, for me, I I just can't be anything else but, especially at I'm in my 50s now. And so it's like at my age, it's sort of like, I don't know, take it or leave it. Like this
That's
is
all I
me.
got.
I mean, this is all I can give you. And so yeah, that's one of the beauties I think of aging. You're like, this is who I am and I love who I am and I know that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of That's just the way that it is. But we can find our village and really lean into our village and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful thing. I just recently got feedback. I do a lot of training of leadership teams, and I was training this leadership team, and almost everything that everybody said was super positive, and it was great and wonderful energy, la la la. And there were a couple that were like, "She's too much," and I, of course, being a human, I look at it and go, "Oh my gosh, I need to focus on that." And I went, "Wait." The majority of the room thought it was great. Those that didn't, I wasn't gonna be their cup of tea ever, and I announced
Mhm.
at the beginning, "I'm a bold flavor, and I need you to know that," right? Like, I am at you from my authentic self. I need you to do the same, which is exactly what they were doing by saying, "This is too much energy for me." And I think what I appreciate about you, Tracy, is you come as you are, and you're not expecting anybody to be anything but that for themselves
Mhm.
either. And that's the power of moving forward that way.
Yeah.
So I love it. All right. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Oh my goodness. It's always hitting reset midday. I think there's so much power in the pause
Mm,
and in every part of life, whether it's, pausing in a conversation, whether it's pausing when I'm speaking on stage, whether it's just getting up. This is the great thing about like if you have an Aura ring or if you have, some sort of app that's like reminding you like, hey, you need to get up and move.
yeah.
And I think when I'm not feeling my best or it's a hard moment in the day to get up and hit reset. Like I always tell my kids, like, don't say it was a bad day. Just say this bad thing happened. But there's also good that happens even on bad days. So when we're able to like pull that apart, it really helps us not to write off an entire 24 hours. But we have to take a break here and there to figure that out, to like
Yes.
clear the mind and say, okay, this next hour, I'm hitting reset.
Yeah.
The last hour might not have been great, but this hour is gonna be good,
Yes.
you know?
I love that, right? 24 hours is a very long time. To say that you had
Mhm.
a terrible day is really lumping it all together. I love that. All right, last question. If people could only remember one of the wonderful things that you said in the last 30 minutes, what's the one thing that you really want to leave the listeners with today?
I want when people are thinking about their coming year, I know it's not January, but if we're just thinking about what is gonna be happening in a year from 12 months from today, instead of thinking immediately, "What do I wanna accomplish and what goals do I wanna have?" Just answer, "Who do you wanna become?"
Mm,
Focus on the who, because I feel like if we all focused on who we wanted to become, that better version of ourselves, that more connected version, that more intentional version, that more present version, that, oh my gosh, just even in our little corners of the world, what a better place it would be.
ah, well said, Tracy. Well said. Thank you. And I know that every listener here today heard some wonderful nuggets of wisdom that they can take with them. Because, the purpose of Productive Joy is to give people those little ideas of how they could be better leaders so that they are evoking productive joy in others. So, thank you so much. I know that your time is valuable and you chose to spend it with us, and we're so, so grateful.
Thank
So,
you. I've loved
yeah.
it. Thanks for having me.
It was fun. So, listeners, thank you for being here today. Thank you for choosing to continue to listen. Remember that you can comment on these and tell us what you want because I know some really brilliant people or brilliant people who know brilliant people. And so, I want to make sure that this podcast is exactly what you want it to be. Our whole goal in being together is to figure out ways that you can turn fun into action.